Hey, and welcome back to the podcast. We're here with father-son team John and Mike Murphy. They have a business called Text Tonality, which is a proprietary messaging method that has generated $900 million plus in new business for over 250 clients in financial services, investment funds, and B2B consulting. So that's Mike Murphy, the creator. We also have John Murphy, the business owner and sales guru who has closed over $100 million in deals in coaching, marketing, lead generation, industrial, software, sales, etc. So we're going to be talking about some of these topics like LinkedIn Sales Navigator, cold emails, booking meetings, closing some of those hot leads, etc. So Mike and John, glad to be speaking with you.
Thanks for having
Happy
us.
to be here. Thanks.
Yeah, and so we're here. We got three high energy guys just kind of doing the round table. And so tell me why we're here. What are you guys all about? What's your software solution?
Mike, you want to start?
Yeah, sure. So it's actually it's a part software, part consulting. So one of the things that I guess I'll go kind of into the background a little bit. Years ago, when I was getting out of school, I was a journalist. I was starting off, and I was writing for USA Today and NBC Sports, and I honed my skills in writing. And I started working for a couple startups. One was Ricky Fowler's virtual reality golf lessons. Another one was a startup in the blockchain space. And it was my job to help them get new business development relationships. And so I was using LinkedIn to send out messages. And I don't know, Rob, do you use LinkedIn at all? You know, in your
all day, every day.
all day,
Yes.
every day. So like,
Oh, yeah.
what do the messages sound like in your inbox? Like from like cold, like DMs from people?
As far as what I receive,
Yeah.
it's either like really vague, and I'm like, I don't even want to go back and forth with this person, or it's too specific, and it's like they're spamming me with some offer. It's one extreme or the other.
Right. It's extreme, right? And it feels and sounds and smells like a pitch from like a mile away. Like it's either like paragraphs of information or someone who's like looks like they're from a different country who's like, hey, can I be your friend? And you're like, I have enough friends. I don't need that anymore, right? So
Exactly.
that's what most people do on LinkedIn. That's what they've been doing on LinkedIn for the last however many years LinkedIn's been around, right? And you've been able to message on LinkedIn. So I was one of those people at one point, and I was sending out the long messages with the pitch deck and 5 paragraphs of information. I got like radio silence. Okay. Dad over here is teaching me how to become a copywriter. He's nudging me into, being a copywriter, being a better direct response marketer. At the time I was working for these startups, and he had his own business. I'll let him share more about that because he's got his own trials and tribulations that he went through before he got to here. But anyway, long story short, I started digging into some of the psychology behind messaging, and more specifically cold email. I said, how do I take that and use it on LinkedIn? And so that's why I came up with the text tonality method. And the text tonality method has 3 things, very important things. Pain point, the thing that your prospect's thinking about right then and there. Intrigue, something new and novel they've never heard of before. And a subliminal call to action, right? Meaning you're not leaving them with a call to action. They have to come back to you and say, man, that sounds really interesting. I'd like to learn more about that, right? You couple all that together in 2 lines, it makes your prospects go, wow, I need to learn more about this thing. So I started using that for these startups. I was getting people who represent Tiger Woods, Phil Mickelson. I pitched everyone from the people who represent Madison Square Garden to the Brooklyn Nets, the Texas Rangers, like you name it, I probably pitched them, right? So that's what we did is we created this methodology. And then Pops is working for a different company. He had automated his business. He starts working for this group called CastRabbit, and they had worked with financial advisors on their Facebook ads. And so they didn't really have a LinkedIn offer, but everyone wanted to use LinkedIn. Everyone wanted to crack the LinkedIn code. Well, I helped Dad close $20,000 worth of new business from LinkedIn using that strategy. And they came back and they said, can you teach our financial advisors how to do this? And I said, yeah, sure. 150 advisors later, and the text tonality method is proven, and we decided to go on our own, and that's what led us here today.
Well, super cool. Well, so we heard from Mike and John. What do you have to say?
It's been a lot of fun working with my son, Mike. And like he said, I watched him go through what he was going through as far as trying to get. I was actually quite amazed with the caliber of meetings that he was generating on LinkedIn. And I said, hey, kid, can you help me out? I could use some more meetings. And sure enough, he did. And I thought, wow, I think we got something here. And finally, he did take my advice and read some of these copy writing books. Anyway, we're in business because of him, because he's really got it down to a real science in creating this messaging. And like you guys just talked about a second ago, I mean, we're helping financial advisors mostly. We can help other people too, but mainly we're focusing in on financial advisors. And these guys have been in the dark ages for a long time. Dinner seminars and referrals. That's what they do. Now, they'll say they're working on LinkedIn, but they get bad advice. There's a lot of bad advice out there. So the messages that are going out, hey, I'm really impressed with your profile. Really? I mean, who sits around getting impressed with profiles and then sends you a message that they're impressed? I mean, that's not very impressive, really, if you ask me. So they miss. A lot of missing going on, a lot of messaging, a lot of work, a lot of wheel spinning. What we're able to do is elicit the response. What Mike just talked about was a message, is to elicit a response. How simple is that? Direct response marketing. So you get a response, start a conversation. Every great relationship starts with a conversation, right? Which leads to a meeting. And then you got a great relationship, usually. I mean, if something, there's got to be an exchange, right? But that's what we've been able to, it's such a simple concept, but we're having a lot of fun. Our clients are getting the meetings that they are looking for. They're getting the caliber of client that they're looking for. I mean, let's face it, not everybody with a pulse is a great client. So we need a little bit more to be able to help. So that's, we're having a lot of fun. We're 3 years into it now. And yeah, I've helped hundreds of clients bring on millions and millions of dollars in assets.
Yeah.
Wonderful. You're blending the old and the new, right? The new guy who's got the short form and knows about the young people's short attention span, the cold email, the LinkedIn, and you got the, I won't say old, but like the more advanced seasoned guy who says, hey, here's the copywriting fundamentals. And I love the 3-step process there, Mike, especially because like we're all busy and we've all been hit with like the stuff that doesn't sit with us. But we've also, I think like every now and then I get hit with a cold email or LinkedIn that I end up buying from. And I think that there's a lot to be said about like saying the right thing, but you said about like the soft call to action there, right? Like kind of pushing to the next step, because what's the point of saying, hey, buy this right now? They're not ready for that. But also being like, oh, well, let's start a conversation. That's also not aggressive enough. So there's for sure like the right amount of pushiness, and there's that short length that we need to hit. And so I don't want to just like extract information from you guys. I don't want to be like overeducated, right? Because we're here to get people excited and then push people over to text tonality, because that's how the game is played. But one thing, a little like selfish question, since we're kind of halfway or partway through, is Sales Navigator, right? I've been paying for years on my account and my wife's, but I find myself, I get overwhelmed with that. I end up instead like doing keyword searches and then filling up a spreadsheet and then filtering that out in other ways. So what am I missing with Sales Navigator or text tonality? Because like I have this resistance to using the external tools. I'm not sure if it's a learning thing or what, but just like help me out, especially understanding Sales Navigator, text tonality, using tools other than just the brute forcing of LinkedIn.
Yeah. It all can blend. It all can blend together when you have the right strategy. And I'm so glad you brought up the Sales Navigator piece, because I hate going and not giving value. Right? We come onto a podcast. I want to give as much value as possible. I wouldn't mind if you drilled down on the semantics of text tonality too for 20 minutes. It wouldn't bother me one bit. But for your listeners, I actually do want to give them something at the end. So if they stay to the very end, I'll give them a keyword to send to me, DM me on LinkedIn, just send it in the connection request. I'll send them I'll send them 2 free things. One, our swipe file, the top 10 messages that have closed over 100 million using text tonality. And I'll give them the free Sales Navigator training as well. It's called Sales Navigator Secrets. I'll give it to you too. Because Sales Navigator, it's kind of like, I don't know if you ever used like Facebook ads before. It's very confusing because there's a lot of different buttons you can press, a lot of different filters you can use. One of the things that I found is that people do one of 2 things on Sales Navigator. They either overcomplicate it with too many filters and they get way filtered down, or they under filter their searches. So there's a couple different things that you could do within your searches. Number one, like I'll give you an example. I just did this with a guy the other day. Let's say you're looking for corporate executives at specific companies, right? And you want to target, let's just say Google, Dell, Microsoft, right? You want to get all the big time companies. So what I would do in Sales Navigator, not to get too in the weeds, is I would go specific companies first. I would go company titles that you're looking for, or I would actually go seniority level, years in their position, and maybe a keyword search in quotations at the very top to get whatever keywords you're looking for. Like, let's just say like safety and data directors or things like that, or chief information officers, things that rely on that go in accordance with that. Trying to think what else would I add in there, and then just go secondary connections, and you'll get probably 1,000 or so connections that you can reach out to and target very easily within Sales Navigator.
Yeah.
And so,
Mike,
oh yeah, go ahead.
no, Mike's so good with the filters in Sales Navigator. And really, I mean, it has a lot of other buzzes and whistles in there. But really, what we really want to do is get the ideal client. Okay, we don't want to send, I hate to simplify this thing. We got to get the right message in front of the right person. Okay, so you got to narrow down your scope. You can't just send a message to everybody, right? Let's get narrowed down to your ideal, that perfect client that you'd want to replicate over and over again. Let's just get the message in front of them. So Mike's really great at getting those messages. Then we connect to our automation. Now we do have an automation tool, and there's a bunch of automation tools available out there. And LinkedIn is very friendly to them now. They used to not like them. They've set limits. You stay in the parameters, no problem. And no one's getting shut down. Well, it's extremely rare. So anyway, automation tools with bad messaging is just really harmful, though, to you and everybody else, because you're just automating a bad message. And that's what we find. A lot of people use a lot of other automation tools. They come to us and they're like, it didn't work. Well, the automation sent the message, didn't it? He goes, yeah. I go, well, then it was the message, wasn't it? So really the key is to get really the right message in front of the right target audience. Again, I hate to make it so simple. Elicit a response, start a conversation, move it to a meeting.
And Rob, just to be clear, I mean, something that's really easy that we do with our clients, I just build the Sales Navigator search for them. Every time a client comes on, we do all of that work for them. We rewrite their profile to speak to that ideal client type when they land on their profile page. It's like a landing page, right? We set up the searches for them. We write all the messaging for them. We plug it all into the software for them, right? Most of these softwares, they'll give you, best practices. They'll put you on a webinar and they'll say, okay, good luck with your messaging. Good luck with your ChatGPT generated messaging. I'm not dogging ChatGPT, by the way. I think ChatGPT is great. I think AI is great, but I think the messages that it produces on its own are not that great. I think that they will be better someday, but you still need that human element. That's why it's called text tonality, because every message that we send has a text-like tonality. The way that you text your friends is not the way that you would text a prospect, at least not usually, right? There's certain things that you do cosmetically to a message to make it look and feel and sound like a message that you'd send to a colleague or to a friend or to someone that you're acquaintances with, right? Most messages on LinkedIn or even cold email for that matter starts off like, hello, Robert, I see we're both in this industry and I'd love to find synergies and blah, 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 blah. Or they say, dear Robert, like they're writing you a letter in 1895, right? That's not going to work. It doesn't work, right? It should be like, Rob, got this pain point, trying to find more listeners for your podcast, ? Proprietary strategy to get more listeners and increase revenue in 30 days or less. And then you're like, okay, what's next? How do I get that? Right? That's what a text to message does to a listener, to a buyer. It makes them intrigued. It makes them say, that's something I have trouble with. That's something I need help with. And I want to learn more about it.
Very cool. Well, and I love the fundamentals here because that's what we're always missing, right? It's always so easy to go and do a bunch of activity and look for some advanced stuff that will solve all my problems, but just get it back to the basics. You say, well, I need to find that ideal client, right? That job title that matches this criteria, that has these keywords. So then there's my leads. And then I need to make my profile kind of match what they want. And then I need to be sending them the messages and sending them the cold emails to very briefly speak to their pain point just to get a response and just to move the conversation along to a meeting. Because that's, I mean, we all want this, right? We all want to wake up, have a calendar full of meetings of people that are pre-educated, who know us, who are excited, who are our people, who are a replica of our existing customers. That way we can see, hey, I can speak exactly to your pain. I know exactly these guys that have had the same problem as you. I'd like you to be the next one. And so as far as like bridging the gap, right? Using the sales fundamentals and using tools like text tonality to get from the conversation to the meeting, like where do people screw that up? How do we get the conversation moved along from, hey, do you have this pain point? Are you talking to, hey, we're booked for a meeting? How do we do it?
Yeah.
Good
Great
question.
question. Yeah. And we just sort of reviewed that whole already. Basically, you got to have the conversation starter, right? The conversation starter. Now, at Text Tonality, what we do is we have a staff here that will jump in as soon as someone replies to the messages. And we reply for you on your behalf. Again, we're not giving financial advice. We're not making a sales pitch. We're not getting into the nuts and bolts. We're moving them to a meeting. That's simple that. Now, one of the problems that you're alluding to is we can't have our clients do it, because what happens is they start talking too much. They start giving too much information. They start selling too much, actually. A little bit early now. Come on, let's get to know each other a little bit. And so it's just a little back and forth, a little talking here and there. Move it to the meeting. Really. And the other thing is, if you give too much information in the texting, the DMing, then they feel like, oh, I've got everything I need. So we give just enough and little enough that they go to a meeting. And that's where people get it wrong. First, they send the wrong. First of all, they don't target very well. Secondly, they don't have the initial message that draws them in. And lastly, they talk a little too much in the conversation and they lose them to get to the meeting.
I always equated it to like speed dating, right? I always give that scenario where it's like if you go on a speed date, right, and if you're the woman, you sit down next to, across from the man who you're speed dating, and he just starts blabbing on and on and on about his job and his work and all this other stuff, and it's like within 2 minutes you know everything about the person. It's like, this person's kind of boring. I don't have anything new to discover. There's no intrigue. There's nothing left, right? You're not chasing anymore. They're chasing you too much. And that's what a lot of people on LinkedIn do, is they chase their prospects, and they don't mean to chase. In their mind, they're like, I'm not chasing, I'm educating. I'm educating them on these financial problems they're having. I'm educating them on, this service that I provide. They don't even know they have this problem yet. The amount of times I hear about that is crazy. What really prospects don't want, they don't want further education. They just want the result. So if you allude to the result in your messaging, and you move the result and you move them to a meeting because that's going to be based on the result, then they're going to get on the meeting. But you have to get them to go to the meeting first. You have to get them to see that this meeting is going to lead to the result that they want to see. And over-educating them, giving them too much information on how to get to the result, they're like, I don't care about all that stuff, right? They can go on YouTube. There's so much information at everyone's fingertips today. They don't need that, extra education.
Yeah, and if you think about all the different messages that you have in front of you every day that you can either ignore or respond to, you have to have the ones that you're going to respond to. And it's so easy to just say, no, click and move on. Click and move on. You've only got seconds. I mean, LinkedIn, it's a pre-built sales funnel. I mean, if you think about it, you got a profile, which is a landing page. Everyone uses it as a resume. It's terrible. I mean, what's a resume? Look how smart I am. Look how wonderful I am. Look how educated I am. We're the best. We're number one. and people don't really respond to that very well. How about a landing page where we talk about the problem, a unique and novel solution, right? And a subliminal type call to action. Now you got me, right? And then we've got access to millions and millions of people. We can funnel them down to our ideal clients and get a precise message in front of them without a gatekeeper. I mean, it's an extraordinary tool if you use it properly. And so, yeah, getting that right message again. I keep going back to it. I hate to do it, but it's so simple. Right message from the right person. Get a meeting, and then you get the relationships, which usually turn into revenue, right?
Yeah,
Right.
this is a great starting point for a lot of clients. I don't mean to dominate the conversation because I know you probably have other questions, but I was going to say too, this used to drive me nuts at one of the old places we worked was it would be like a paid advertise. It was the paid advertising offer they would bring to these advisors. And they would say, okay, let's put you on Facebook ads. They wouldn't test their messaging with their audience first, and they would just blow through thousands and thousands of dollars using Facebook ads. LinkedIn is like the ultimate testing ground for if you're doing a new offer, if you're looking to bring on new clients and you don't really have a predictable system yet, right? You might be relying on referrals or word of mouth. Maybe you do seminars, you go to events, you do speaking engagements, right? All of those things. Maybe you do podcasts, right? All of those things that might not be, directly with paid advertising, and you want to get into paid ads. Targeting your messaging first and your ideal clients on LinkedIn is like the ultimate testing ground. We did it when we first started our business. We went just LinkedIn. I sat in front of two computers. I would wake up every morning. I'd get one computer out, and I would just be banging out manually LinkedIn connection requests, messages for his profile, my profile. I would generate meetings for Dad. Dad would close the meetings and then bring right back to me for fulfillment, right? So that's when we started to tweak messaging, right? Like at one point we were saying, man, we should be getting more meetings from this thing. And we changed one word in our message, one word, and it just started blowing up. Meetings just every week. We were getting 4 to 6 every single week from 2 profiles, which is really good, by the way, for LinkedIn, even given the limitations. But we took that messaging after 6 months. We said, we can use this on paid advertising. So we got, media buyer, and they go out, they find financial advisors, B2B consultants, whoever, and they put that exact message in front of them, and people fill our calendars and they want to know more about text tonality. So it's the perfect testing ground for someone who's new to an offer, doesn't have a paid ad strategy yet, or wants to get into paid ads, but doesn't know where to start. This is the perfect place to start.
Well, very cool. What a time to be alive, right, guys? Because when you hear like with everyone wants to run ads, like that's the dream, right? You dump in $1, you get $1.10 back, but then that's expensive. There's lots of guesswork there, and I mean, it's no joke. LinkedIn is amazing, especially the last 2 years. It's like LinkedIn was what Facebook was supposed to be for us, right? Like Facebook, you can reach anyone, but then if you want to make sales there, good luck, right? Lots of people are there just to have fun. If you want someone to look at your profile, good luck looking at your posts. If you want to send some messages out on Messenger and get some cold leads and the hot leads there, yeah, right. Facebook will limit you, but like LinkedIn, like they want you to sell, right? LinkedIn, there's just people out there, and there's all of those job details that you mentioned, especially John, like seniority, job title. The keywords are what they post. It's any salesperson's dream, and I can definitely see why you have the father and son, old school, new school duo, and also why you say that it's not just the software piece, it's also the coaching, because it seems like in our conversation, there's so many ways to go wrong, right? There's definitely an ideal path, an ideal strategy to figure this out by not overselling, by getting them to the meeting, by developing their relationships, by talking to the right people. So many ways to go wrong, only a finite number of ways to go right. And so what's that all about? In the spirit of getting people encouraged, excited, knowing about the possibilities, giving them a taste, because this is a 20-minute podcast, not a 3-hour education session. What's the next step here? If someone says, oh man, I've got like a page worth of notes about all these things to go on LinkedIn, but I know that if I try it myself, I'll screw up in even more ways. It'll be such a confused, overwhelmed mess. Help me out, Mike and John. What's the next step to translating all of this collection of tips we gave today into some action, some results? What do we do?
Yeah. Well, like I said, I want them to, any of your listeners who listening to this right now and they want to get, our swipe file, the 10 messages that's generated over 100 million using LinkedIn, using text tonality, and our Sales Navigator Secrets course, feel free to DM me the word wealth 24 over LinkedIn. Just send me a connection request. I'll personally get that to you. And then we're more than happy to do a demo, go over your current LinkedIn profile, go over your current LinkedIn strategy with you and see if this is a good fit. Because that's really our business is we don't want to work with everybody. We want to work with people who we know if we put them in front of the right people at the right time, they're going to close some really great business. I mean, like one of our clients, Tom Singh, Merrill Lynch advisor, closed a $113 million deal using our system. Biggest deal he's ever gotten. And his pipeline's over $3 billion. He gives us credit for a third of it. And we have other testimonials and stories like that as well. Anyone can go look at that on texttonality.com. But we love to find great clients who we work with for years. Tom's worked with us since April of 2020. And he's still with us to this day. So we would love to help any of your listeners who want to take their game to the next level on LinkedIn.
Yeah. And if they were to work with us, and of course we'd have to meet and talk about that, but happy to do that. But if they were to work with us and we were to get started, we could get it all set up in 1 week. Now, Mike here, I got to tell you, is a messaging savant. I'm sorry. I've seen a lot of messengers. I've seen a lot of copywriters. The kid's good. All right. And I call him a kid. I'm allowed to call him a kid. But we'll get your messaging dialed in, really, really dialed in, better than you ever have. And I'm only telling you that because that's what our clients tell us all the time. Boy, I've been waiting for this message all my life. And they're guys my age telling them that. So we'll get that all dialed in 1 week. We'll get the campaign launch. It's the fastest thing. You can't launch anything else this fast. You can't launch email this fast. You can't launch ads this fast. So we'll get messages rolling. We'll get conversations started. We'll get meetings on the calendar. A couple weeks, 3 weeks. Get that ball rolling. And so, if you'd want to meet with us and talk about the possibilities, you should schedule a call with us, and worst case, we'll give you some great tips.
That's what they call practicing what you preach, right? You say, hey, like the format, the strategy here is to get people talking to you and move them along to a meeting and figure out what they want. And here you are saying like, hey, get a little bit of educating. And if you think that that's a logical path for you, then start communicating with us and we'll get you moved along in the same way we can do for others. And so you said that as far as the website, that's texttonality.com, texttonality.com. And then Mike, you said that we should text or we should DM wealth24 to you on LinkedIn. And how do we easily find you on LinkedIn? Do we search Mike Murphy? Are there a lot of you? How do we get that direct connection to you?
There's a lot of Mike Murphys out there. Search Mike Murphy and search text tonality in the same bar. I'm the first guy that pops up. And yes, my follow button is turned on too. But if you just DM me that wealth24 when you send a connection request, or if you send it via email, whatever the best case is, or if you find my Instagram is at linkedinboss.io as well. If you DM me wealth24 there, I'll know it's from your podcast, and I will absolutely send over the swipe file, the Sales Navigator Secrets, and of course we'll get on a demo call with you and walk through our LinkedIn strategy together.
Very cool. At linkedinboss.io. And I, for selfish reasons, I will be claiming that LinkedIn Sales Navigator report because I don't think I'm at the temperature to jump into text tonality myself, but I'm always looking to up my LinkedIn game and figure out how to message the right people with the right message that leads to the meeting and all that stuff that you mentioned. So we said texttonality.com. And if you search Mike Murphy text tonality, you'll find the right guy. DM Wealth24 to get that, and tell them that Robert Plank sent you while you're at it, because it's all about connection, networking, and relationships. And as we're winding this down and people are checking out Text Tonality and Mike Murphy on LinkedIn, it's a podcast, We love the reels, right? We love the sound bites. We love those final exciting moments. So here's where I like to try to stump my guest a little bit, put them on the spot, and ask for a fun quote or lesson that has served them that they can pass on to others. And you guys are welcome to like each take a turn, or one of you, any way you want to do it. I'm just looking for a fun quote or lesson that has served you. So what do you have for me?
Wow, you got me there. What do you got, Mike? Quote that served me. Wow.
There's a few people who have said this, and it's funny. I go back. It's timely now. Trump just got reelected, and not to get political or anything like that, but there's this clip that he did with Robert Kiyosaki way back before he was even president, and it was a really good motivational speech, and he just simply put, never give up. Never give up. I don't want to ever see you give up. And he's talking about his father. And that kind of gets me a little bit emotional because I always think of you, Dad, like never give up. And back in the day, by the way, I was, between jobs before this whole text tonality revolution. Pops was the only one who ever believed in me to get this stuff going. So, and he always told me, never give up. So that resonates with me a lot right there.
That's helpful. That's inspiring. Never give up when it comes to LinkedIn, cold email, getting your leads, getting your sales, and don't give up on this LinkedIn automation. In fact, get the help from Mike and John. Get set up in 1 week. That's texttonality.com. Look at what they have for you. Look at how you can get these leads closed in financial services, investment funds, B2B consulting, etc. John and Mike Murphy from Text Tonality. Wonderful speaking with you two gents.
Thanks for having us, Robert. Really appreciate it.